This is KSUT Public Radio. Regional news is next. One of the biggest fires burning right now in our region is the Babylon Fire in southeast Utah. That fire has now burned over 106,610 acres, including portions of Bears Ears National Monument. It is currently 50% contained. For the Rocky Mountain Community Radio Coalition, here's LP McKay from KSJD with the report.
At a Thursday night community meeting, officials said the Babylon fire remains a major threat, but crews are gaining ground on several parts of the fire. The most urgent focus is still the eastern side of the fire, where crews are trying to keep flames from pushing closer to Monticello, the local watershed, and other community assets. The meeting opened with Monticello Mayor Kevin Dunn, who acknowledged the anger, sadness, and uncertainty many residents are feeling.
And I think the worst part of all is sometimes I feel like I've lost control of my life. The best way to deal with those emotions, I feel, is to get involved. Go thank a firefighter. I have had the opportunity to spend hours with these men every day. The professionalism and the caring is second to none.
Fire behavior analyst Dana Skelly also addressed what many residents have been seeing from town, large smoke columns. She said a big column can look alarming, but it does not always mean the fire is spreading across a large footprint.
Right now, most of what you're seeing is burning in that high elevation fuel, but it's dense and there's a lot, and it's cleaning it up. But it makes for a lot of smoke. It doesn't necessarily make for a big fire footprint.
Incident Commander Tony DeMasters said the Babylon fire is the largest fire in the Great Basin right now, with about 1,600 personnel assigned. He said crews are using both direct and indirect strategies, going right to the fire's edge where they safely can, and building larger containment features where they need more room. With KSJD News, I'm LP McKay.
A federal appeals court has revived a Colorado voter intimidation lawsuit tied to the aftermath of the 2020 election. For the Colorado Capital News Alliance, Kyle McKinnon has this update.
The lawsuit was filed by the League of Women Voters of Colorado, the state's NAACP chapter, and Mi Familia Vota. They argue that a group called the United States Election Integrity Plan intimidated voters after the 2020 election. The lawsuit says members went door to door to question Colorado voters, and some were armed. The group claims it was investigating election fraud. The 10th Circuit says a lower court's decision to narrow the case was in error. It ruled that the United States Election Integrity Plan can be sued, even though it is not incorporated. The case now goes back to federal district court for a new trial.
That was Kyle McKinnon for the Colorado Capital News Alliance. The renowned National Academies says the country's approach to tracking drought needs to evolve with technology and as the climate changes. From the Mountain West News Bureau, here's Caleb Radel with that story.
Stream gauges aren't something any of us really think about, unless you're a scientist worried about the drought, like Zachary Hoyleman with the Climate Office in Montana, where some waterways don't have any measurements, like
the South Fork of the Flathead, where we've never had a measurement of stream flow.
A new 200-plus page report says the federal government's drought tracking could be more robust, especially as artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming ubiquitous.
This report is really about updating drought assessment so that it continues to provide farmers, ranchers, water managers, emergency managers, drought assessors with the information they need to make sound decisions in a changing climate.
This report warns of non-stationarity, which means that analysis and measurements are becoming less reliable because of factors like climate change. It also calls for engaging local, state, and federal leaders and others to improve the framework for drought assessments. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Caleb Radel.
For over 2 decades, travelers have enjoyed the famous green chili cheeseburgers at Laguna Burger. That's a chain owned and operated by the Pueblo of Laguna. The original location sits on what used to be Route 66, and it's a delicious reminder of indigenous influence over the iconic highway. The Mountain West News Bureau's Daniel Spalding visited the restaurant for a story that's about much more than what's on the menu.
Just off the old historic Route 66 highway sits a red and white checkered diner next to a small gas station, about 50 miles west of Albuquerque. The lunch rush is underway inside. where hungry customers are waiting for what's become a New Mexico favorite, the Laguna Burger. A half-pound burger stacked with melted cheese and roasted green chili, balanced by crisp lettuce, tomato, red onion, and pickles. As burgers sizzle on the grill, the smell of fresh roasted green chili fills the room. Pair it with an order of crispy, fresh, hand-cut fries, and it's a pit stop meal that's hard to forget.
Laguna Burger represents something powerful. It demonstrates that indigenous communities are not simply part of America's past. We are active participants in its present and future.
That's Laguna Development Corporation Director Ryan Riley. As the country celebrates its 250th birthday and Route 66 celebrates its centennial, Riley says that recognizing indigenous people is more important than ever. The Mother Road, as Route 66 is affectionately known, crosses through over 24 tribal nations.
American history is most complete when all voices are included. Native nations have always been part of the economic history of this country.
As generations of tourists chase roadside diners and New Mexico sunsets along their cross-country journeys, indigenous people were often reduced to stereotypes.
Too often, Native communities are viewed as historical landmarks rather than modern economic and cultural contributors.
For generations, Laguna families grilled hamburgers topped with roasted green chili during Pueblo feast days. In 2005, that tradition became the first Laguna Burger. It's now a thriving chain with multiple locations across New Mexico. Its location means people are always coming and going, but this restaurant has become one of the places that keeps Laguna's stories, traditions, and connections alive. Just down the road from Laguna Burger is another place showing that history. Before Route 66, there was a railroad, and before the railroad, there were Pueblo trade routes stretching across the Southwest. Dominic Quitos says welcoming travelers has always been a part of the Laguna Pueblo tradition.
People still stop off on the road to look at our beautiful pottery, jewelry, and also the scenic route. It's so beautiful.
Quitos operates the Indian Art Center, a family-run shop where shelves are filled with Pueblo pottery, jewelry, artwork, and a small kitchen serving fresh fry bread and Indian tacos. Quitos remembers an old photograph.
There was a lady handing a pottery to some travelers on the railroad cart, and that has always inspired me to continue the tourism here in Laguna Pueblo and at the Indian Art Center.
The Indian Art Center and Laguna Burger offer travelers a window into the Pueblo of Laguna. They also carry deep meaning for community members. Sean Spruce is a Laguna Pueblo tribal member who now lives in North Carolina. Every trip back home includes a stop at Laguna Burger.
And I remember years ago going there with a really good friend of mine, and we sat out there and we just watched the cars zip by on I-40. And that friend of mine, he's passed on. That's kind of the spirit and nostalgia and the personal connection that I share with Laguna Burger.
For Spruce, the memories aren't just tied to a place, they're tied to a taste.
There's nowhere else in the world that you can get a New Mexico green chili cheeseburger like that with a Pueblo kind of vibe to it. It tastes like something somebody made in their own kitchen.
For the Pueblo of Laguna, it's proof that indigenous communities aren't just preserving history, they're continuing it. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Daniel Spalding.
Support for local and regional news on KSUT Public Radio is provided by the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority.
Support for public policy reporting comes from the Gay and Lesbian Fund for Colorado, promoting programs designed to ensure all Coloradans have the same opportunity to thrive. More information is online at gayandlesbianfund.org.
This is KUTE Ignacio, KDNG Durango, KUSW Flora Vista, and KPGS Pagosa Springs. We can also be heard in Farmington, Cortez, Mancos, Silverton. We are Four Corners Public Radio, and we're online at ksut.org, bringing you 50 years of music, news, culture, community connection, and more.